And so the first guy that we're going to talk about today is Texas two guard Tre Johnson. Ethan, while I pull up some of his stuff, I'm going to dish it to you. Give me your thoughts on what you've seen from Tre, some of the things that are appealing to you about him, and just all of the things that you took away from your research that you have done on him.
That he is an effortless scorer. I think that's the best way to describe him. This guy puts in very little effort to get some of the toughest buckets that you've seen, and at no point does it look like he's struggling. He averaged 20 for UT last year. Defensively, leaves a lot to be desired. That's not his side of the ball. But he is 6'6". Like, he's not incapable physically to be a defender. He just doesn't play defense. That's just not his specialty. He is an offensive-minded guy. So to me, where he fits with the Spurs would be immediately an improved version of what we wanted Malachi to be off the bench. He is going to get you buckets on buckets on buckets, and he will be a microwave for us in the same way that Jordan Clarkson was, Lou Williams was. And I wouldn't compare him to Manu in the same way because I don't think he has the same playmaking ability as a Manu Ginobili, but he's going to really run up the scoreboard on the second unit guys and make a lot of tough baskets off the dribble, Jude.
I had not thought of the Manu shades. I know it's not the exact same thing, but I just had not thought of that today. I came up with some other names that I'll get into here in a second, man. But I'm really liking that. Like, I didn't think of him in that mold, but there's a lot of things that he does, dude, that are similar to Manu. And here's what I'll say. I know you see 2.7 assists. It doesn't stand out. Y'all go check out No Ceilings recent video that they did on Tre Johnson. It's Tyler Metcalf's film school, okay? He gives some context to kind of just the Texas offense, some of the roster and their shooting percentages, as well as just, while he has highlights of Tre Johnson's playmaking kind of going on throughout the time. He talks about the rest of him as well, the rest of his game, in the rest of the video on top of his defense. And of course, the shot making, like you said. But I think there's a little bit more to his playmaking than people realize. And I totally understand why when you look at the assist numbers, you just don't really think too much of it. And then obviously when you watch him, the thing that stands out is his shot creation ability, right? Think about, I talked about Rob Dillingham last year. He might even have a deeper bag than Rob does on top
I
of the
think
fact.
so.
I agree. Yeah. And on top of the fact that he's 6'6", that just allows for some more athleticism and things that he can do, with his bag. But to get back to his playmaking, if you go watch that video, man, you will see, first of all, you'll see a ton of kind of acrobatic assists under the rim. But the key context, man, he plays like 15 minutes, dude, 10 to 15 minutes of Texas dudes missing open shots that he passed. And but he has a big caveat, Ethan. He's like, I'm not saying that Tre Johnson's going to be a point guard. I'm not saying that he's going to be, a primary ball handler. But he does think that his playmaking, the narrative about his playmaking is a little bit misconstrued because Texas, like his teammates' shooting percentages, again, I'm forgetting the exact numbers, but he was not getting all of the help that he possibly could have. Like on an NBA roster where he's got more reliable shooters on the perimeter, he might have higher assist numbers. And the crazy thing is because of that, Ethan, because of the fact that he didn't have that great shooters around him, he got honed in on more. And he still, was pretty efficient and averaged 20 points. So I think that's another thing that kind of ties into just his scoring ability. He was, double teamed most games and he still was able to do this. So again, that goes back to all the shot creation stuff, like you said. But I'll read off some bullet points that I wrote down about him. A lot of it's similar to what you said. Bucket getter, separation creator. He has playmaking flashes that I kind of just went over, as well as just the context of his teammates missing shots as well. His athleticism jumps off the screen. That's one of the things that I noticed. Overall, not the greatest defender. But what I will say, one thing that he was able to do like semi-consistently, as much as the on-ball defense definitely needs some work, was you see the 31 steals down there? A lot of those are in passing lanes. He was able to read guys. It wasn't like he was pickpocketing guys. Like he was like catching it like he was a receiver and the other team was a quarterback. I saw that a lot on his highlight tape. Again, not to say, not coming out here saying he's an above average or elite defender, but just saying there are some tools and he does have some good pass vision on defense. As well as on offense a little bit too. But the last couple things I'll say: plays on his toes. He's not flat-footed, very bouncy. That's something I noticed on offense and defense. And here were my comparisons. I really like the Manu one, like I said. but mine were Cam Thomas, obviously like a 6'6" Cam Thomas, Austin Reeves, and believe it or not, Devin Vassell.
Devin Vassell. I just thought of another one that I want to bring up too, to add on to yours. Jamal Crawford.
Yeah.
Just leave it at that.
That's very good because that ties into the playmaking thing in the sense that he's not necessarily a point guard, but he definitely can feed guys.
He's just bouncy with it. He has that ball on a string. Now his handles aren't necessarily exactly like Jamal's,
Right.
but he could probably get to close to that level.
Well, bro, get Wemby to call up Jamal if we draft
right.
him. Let's get him in.
That's right. And maybe I'm trying to shoehorn him into that position too quickly, of like the 6-man. But I also think that he has the ability to be a starting caliber player. Don't get me wrong. I think he has that because he shoots 40% as well. So he plays well without the basketball at the same time. But I think that's where his specialty would be, immediately after drafting him.
And also, you're kind of talking about it in the context of the Spurs as well.
For sure.
But honestly, dude, I was kind of, because he is a top 10 guy and, he does have a lot of potential. I'm kind of thinking of him as a starter, not next season, obviously, but, just like long term, I think he is that caliber of player. But again, man, when you made the Manu comparison, he was a starting caliber player. And anyways, I don't know if that would be anything that Tre Johnson would be interested in. He's a Dallas guy, but he is a Texas guy. I don't know if he's a Spurs fan or a Mavs fan or what he grew up on, but I could see him in that 6th-man role, man. I really could see him as just our microwave 6-man scorer. And the more you're talking about it, the more I'm liking it and liking the vision. And that's making me bring this up again, as we do every episode, it feels like now. Let me bring up the roster outlook. So in this situation, he's going to be let's say he's going to be the backup 2, just for the sake of conversation. Maybe there's a world where he competes with Blake Wesley to be the point guard, but I do think he's more of a 2 as much as he can be a combo guard type player. So we'll have him at that backup 2, move Devin to the starting 3, move Harrison to the backup 4. And again, that just leaves that backup center position, Ethan. And we'll get into this when we talk about Kasparis as well. But to go on a little bit of a side note here, when I look at it, well, here, let me preface. If Malwatch does not fall to 8, 9, wherever our pick ends up being, I think that we should go for a guard in the top 10, because I just feel like, that's where the highest value is. And here's the thing, man, I really feel confident. One, we could trade back or go trade for a center, or there are some names in free agency. I don't know if we want to pay big bucks for like a Miles Turner or something. But at 14, I'm pretty sure Danny Wolf and Thomas Sorber are going to be there, like, for sure. And they might even be there a little bit later if we want to trade back. So I just feel like we're definite, like the guys that we would be eyeing other than Malwatch are, for backup center, for that to be addressed, are going to be available at our next pick.
For sure.
So that makes me feel like this 8th pick, I want to go with probably one of these guards that's down here, or even a Khan, and he's, you could call him a guard wing, but still one of those guys.
Luckily, Jude, I've really liked all these guys that we've talked about as potential guard/wings at 8 or 9. So I'll be pleased no matter who it is that we bring in, to be completely frank and honest with you.
This is reminding me of last year, when Lou was telling us that next year's draft was like so much better.
Oh, yeah. There's like no, knock on wood. So far, there's been no
yeah.
What's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. There's no deadbeats amongst the crowd.
There's no like question marks, and this is kind of a good transition. Any final thoughts on Tre Johnson?
No, sir.